This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
When you work with your hands, you need tools you can count on. The same goes for cleaning. Simple Green All-Purpose Cleaner delivers professional-strength cleaning to tackle grease, grime, and job site messes, so you can focus on getting the work done right. For contractors and painters, to plumbers, installers, and maintenance crews, Simple Green helps pros like us clean smarter without harsh chemicals. You handle the job, we'll clean up the mess. Visit simplegreen.com/professional.
Welcome in, everyone, to today's edition of the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. I am Jacob Milham, joined today by the illustrious, the head-waggling, Jeremy Hikias Greco. Jeremy, I have to call you out about stuff like that every now and then, right?
I mean, sure. Every time we start the podcast now, I remember the time that I got interviewed by a Kansas City TV station, and you gave them a clip of our opening, and I was yawning. And I don't remember if I was yawning as part of an effect that I was taking about, the team's boring or something, or if I was just really tired that day. But my mom saw that clip and she's like, you're so tired. Why did he give you that clip? And I'm like, well, from now on, I got to do something energetic so that we don't have any more of those clips.
Oh, I was just giving you a little bit of a hard time, Jeremy.
It sucks when something gets put out into public and your family misinterprets it and then comes and asks you a lot of questions about it.
I have had that happen, not many times, but a couple of times.
But that's my segue into the big topic for today.
What's the big topic?
Pretty good.
Yeah, it was.
We didn't go there though.
Oh, gosh dang it, Jeremy. Sorry, I'm a little rusty here because I'm thinking about, okay, what's the next thing?
Good. It was too good.
Right over my perfectly coiffed hair. One thing that I won't forget, though, is that folks need to go check out RoyalsReview.com. We are going to be talking about a lot of Kansas City Royals stuff today, but a lot of it you would have already known or have a gauge on the situation if you would check out RoyalsReview.com and all the great work that goes on over there. So, Jeremy, the big headline from the Kansas City Royals, we are recording this during the rain delay for the Royals. So we don't know the result of Sunday, but I told Jeremy before what'd you say?
We do. We know.
I feel like we know the result. I told Jeremy, like, no matter how today's game goes, it's not really going to change my opinion of this road trip or of this series, which is how we try to tell our listeners to interact with the team on, if that makes sense. But big story is off the field right now. Salvador Perez being given Saturday off, riding the bench, and it was not only that fact, but also the captain's response to not being in the lineup. Jeremy, you put out a good article on this early on Sunday. What did we know when you wrote that?
So all we knew when I wrote that was that Matt Quintero gave Salvi a day off. It was his first non-illness related day off since June of last year. And at least I don't think I know he was ill for 2 days in August, and that's why he was off those days. I couldn't find a record of an illness or injury for the June game he missed. That was when the Royals were really struggling, so it seems to me like that would have been a good time to give him a day off. But yeah, almost a year since he last got a in-season day off that wasn't injury or illness related. And Q, I think, gave a very normal description of what happened in saying, he's struggling a little bit. I gave him a mental day off. And then at that point, Salvador Perez posted on social media, on X, formerly Twitter. He posted, I didn't need a mental day off. And then on Instagram, he highlighted an article. I think it was Andy Rogers' article, and put fake news, fake on it, and that was what we knew at the time. And it just smacks of discord on a day when the Royals manager, yeah, it was the same night that the Royals manager got thrown out between the top and bottom of the first inning, and then
Yep.
the team proceeded to play some of the sloppiest baseball we've seen all year.
Yeah.
So
It's it's a bad
it smacked
situation.
of it certainly smacked of Clubhouse discord at a time. I mean, there's never a good time for Clubhouse discord, but when your team is in a 6-game skid and seemingly getting worse is the least best time for it, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Unfortunately, when it comes to clubhouse politics, the the reality is we're not going to know a solid answer of what's actually going on in the dugout, right? Like we can try and break down body language and social media posts and things like that all we want, but the reality is we're not a fly on the wall. We don't know what's going on once the guys are there all together talking about what needs to happen.
I mean, and this goes even further than that, in that we never know what's in the heart of any other human being. And so since I wrote that article, Andy Rogers has written another article. Salvy's back in the lineup today at designated hitter. And she wrote an article about that and highlighted that Salvi said his family saw the mental day off thing and were calling him and saying, "Hey, are you okay?" Excuse me, which seems like kind of an overreaction from his family. I mean, his family's not invested in baseball, but like I said, it's very normal language to say a mental day off for a struggling player. So maybe his family isn't aware of that, or it translated into Spanish in a way that was really unfortunate.
That's true.
Um, but even so, well, okay, let me finish the description before I provide a reaction, I suppose. And so he says that everything's cool. He and Quatero talked, and Quatero says everything's cool. We talked. Free and easy conversation between us, but you know, can you take that at face value? Or is this damage control?
Yeah.
We'll never know. What was I know my reaction, obviously. I wrote a lot about my reaction this morning. What was your reaction when you saw this news, Jacob?
So when I saw Salvi's response to it, like this is very out of character for him. Like this, I would not have expected something like this from him. And that reaction coupled with it had me concerned that it was something serious, that there was something a lot more underlying it. According to Rogers, Perez, Quatrero, Piccolo, they all sat down Sunday morning and talked about the situation and got on the same page, apparently. I here's the fact of the matter. Salvi's not playing well. Team's not playing well. He's the leader. So there are two schools of thought here. I can both see Q coming down because if guys are getting in their heads about the performance, okay, you put the C on Salvi's chest for a reason. He's supposed to kind of be a player liaison between leadership and the players. That's how I see that. And so Q goes to him and says, "Hey, can you help pick these guys up, or X, Y, and Z, something like that." Or if Salvi is letting the frustration get to him, letting the frustration of other guys get to him and bleed up the chain a little bit to Q, and he's voicing that frustration, well, then maybe something happened. I all in all, we also know now that Salvi's dealing with the sore hip, which is not a good thing that you want from such an old catcher in the game. And it's quote unquote a lingering injury that he has managed for several years, according to Rogers. So it's not going away anytime soon, but it's already cropped up early on in the season. That's why the Royals added catcher Elias Diaz to the 40-man roster. They put James McArthur on the 60-day IL to make room for him. But you know, I I hope that Salvi turns around at the plate. I hope that he's the guy that leads the example for what the Royals bats can do. I hope that he does that. But I think he deserved a day out of the lineup, whether that be for mental reasons, whether that be to manage an injury, or whether that be you're not getting it done right now, Salvi. Go take a load off.
Yeah, so I've got a pretty to maybe moderately would be a better word. I almost want to say extremely, but that's probably too far.
Okay.
I'll say moderately negative reaction to this whole thing. Um, I start with if your family's texting you and they say, "Hey Sal, what's going on? Are you okay?" You can respond privately to them and say, "Listen, this is a very normal baseball language. It doesn't really mean anything. It's just he's got to say something. So he said something, and that's not maybe the thing I wanted him to say,
Yeah.
but that's the thing he said. Don't worry about it. I'm fine." And then he can privately go to Matt Quatrero and say, "Hey, can you please not say mental day off or mental break? Like that gives my family concern. It doesn't translate well, whatever." These are private conversations you can have.
Yeah.
When you go
Yeah.
on social media in a public facing job like this and you kind of start a public feud with the manager, that's bad.
Yeah.
That one of you is in very bad shape. Either Q's relationship with Sal and probably the entire clubhouse is much worse than we thought it was, or Sal is a more selfish player than we thought he was. And when I look around, I go, no one else is complaining about Q. I feel like someone else would have complained about Q before now if he wouldn't have got a big extension in the offseason if he didn't have a good handle on the clubhouse. Meanwhile, we've seen these jokes about Salvi always wants to be in the lineup. Salvi always wants to blah, blah, blah. And those are the kinds of jokes you can make about someone when you don't want to say something critical about them, but they're behaving in an inappropriate manner.
Yeah.
Sal's beloved. We can't say anything negative about him. So the PR speak is, oh, well, he just always wants to be in there. He's a tough guy. You turn a negative into a positive. And you're like, well, it's not that big a deal. People post things on social media all the time. If it's not that big a deal, why are the general manager, the manager, and the team captain are having a meeting the next morning?
Yeah.
Like you described. You don't do that if it's not a big deal.
No.
It's a big deal for him to make those posts.
Yeah.
And Sal's been in the league long enough to know that it's a big deal to make those posts, and he still chose to do it.
Yeah.
And the fact that Sal is then back in the lineup the next day as a designated hitter, I don't want to say the right hip soreness isn't there, but we've also discussed before how guys will come at the end of the season and be like, "Oh, I had an injury all year, and that's why I sucked." It could be excuse making.
It could.
And if Sal is too hurt if Sal's poor performance to start the year is because he's hurt, then he should be out of the lineup again. You've now got two catchers that can play that are healthy with Elias Diaz being promoted. Something rotten is going on here is basically my come down. I don't have any evidence. No one talks to me, but my gut feeling is that there's an issue with Sal, with him not appreciating that his role needs to decline as he continues into age 36, and that he's not the offensive force at catcher that 30 home runs and 100 RBIs might tell you he was 20 years ago because of the awful OBP.
Yep.
And I went and looked at his underlying metrics. His Baseball Savant page is, we look at his numbers last year and we go, well, he still got to 30 homers, 100 RBIs. He wasn't awful. He still had a lot of red on Baseball Savant, swinging the bat hard, hitting the ball hard.
Yep.
He's not doing that so far.
No, it's royal blue right now.
Yeah, and that's not to say that he can't get there, especially if he is dealing with an injury that's slowing his bat down and making him make poor choices. But what are we doing?
I know.
We
I know.
either he's hurt and he should be playing, or he's not hurt and he's bad and he should be playing less and should be pushed down in the lineup. Now, I know there's not a lot of other guys that are having a lot of success. Carter Jensen had a single and 2 walks yesterday.
And
Did
the
he
home
have a
run.
single? He hit a home run and 2 walks.
Yeah.
Jack Caglianone is pacing the team in batting average. He's
Yeah.
taken a few walks. Doesn't have a home run yet. The ball's been going up. The launch angle's going up. He's
Slowly.
gonna start hitting home runs any day now.
You
And
say so.
the lineup scored 4 runs yesterday. So, the lineup wasn't the issue yesterday. I mean, it was. You could score more than 4 runs, but the
Yeah.
lineup was not the real issue yesterday. It was Noah Cameron getting shelled by the Yankees again, and then Mitch Spence getting shelled again against anyone. He's been demoted. Mason Black came up at the same time as Elias Diaz. So I that's my thing is, I'm not saying anybody's lying necessarily, but people are trying to spin this. And I think if you try to remove some of that spin, it does not paint a pretty picture of what's happening in the clubhouse. Either it's Q or it's Salvi. Could be both. I don't think it's neither, even though I think there's a slim possibility that this is all just a big misunderstanding like they're saying, but I'm not betting on it.
So here's the quote that's kind of stuck in my craw about this, because Salvi's post came late in the day on Saturday,
Mhm.
right? It wasn't, I want to say it was during game time or shortly after game time. And Q clarified his statement a little bit more on Sunday, saying, I think what stands out to me, the mental breather was, from my perspective, telling him the night before he wasn't playing, so he can take some off his plate, preparing for our starting pitcher in the game plan, the opposing starting pitcher, and just being a player every day. There's a tremendous amount that game goes into for that guy like him. I think that's where that became a little bit misconstrued. So I'm trying to think how to word this, because even if Salvi was just trying to combat what people were reaching out to him about, saying like, hey, are you okay? I saw that you're having some mental troubles right now, right? Like, someone could look at that and I could see them jumping to that. Even if he's just trying to clarify that, well, he did so in a little bit of a passive aggressive way. And I would have assumed that he would have cooled off enough, even if he was mad about not playing. He would have cooled off enough after 12 hour or 12 plus hours of being told. So I don't know, man. I like the way that you put that, though. There is certainly an issue. We don't know which person is causing the issue, but gosh darn it, there's a freaking issue in that clubhouse right now.
And I have to admit, I'm coming at, we all have our biases, but I'm coming at this from a bias of, man, when I see a guy take an issue with a term mental break or mental breather, it feels to me like someone who doesn't think mental health is health.
Yeah.
Which is, I think that's a huge concern, and it's a massive concern in sports. And it takes me to a story going on in Boston kind of right now. The story's maybe tailing off, but Jaron Duran confessed to suffering from depression, having suicidal thoughts a year or two ago. And a week or two ago, a fan he got in trouble for flipping off a fan. The fan told him that he wished he'd killed himself. I should probably have used different language there to be a little bit more sensitive. I'm sorry. I'll try to do better in the future. But I mean, first of all, Jared Duran, I think 110% justified in flipping that fan off. But second of
Yeah.
all, like, you look at sports and you look at one guy finally comes forward and says, no, athletes do deal with mental health issues, and he gets it turned on him like that.
Right.
So I would like to see someone like Sal, a leader in this game, not just for the Royals, in the sport. He got the Roberto Clemente Award for his good work. The national announcers say that he's a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame, right? No one has anything bad to say about this guy. I would like to see him standing up and being like, listen, I maybe didn't need a mental health day, but mental health is important. I take a broader stance than I didn't need a mental health day. I'm stronger than that. That whole approach bugs me, and maybe it's a language barrier thing. I don't know. He's he talks in English all the time, whatever. I think we should be past that, but you're never past a language barrier, I guess. I know that I've worked with people who speak other languages as a primary language, and you don't know every word in English. English speakers, native English speakers don't know every word in English.
I was about to say, I certainly don't.
I've had communication issues with people we're both primary English speakers. So
Yeah.
I don't want to make that just about people who don't speak English primarily. I don't know. There's there's a lot going on, and I'm certainly bringing some of my own baggage into this, but I'm unhappy. I'm unhappy with the situation is what I'm trying to convey right now, and I'm worried about the Royals. I'm worried about Sal. I'm worried about a lot of things.
Yeah, and there's plenty to be worried about right now when it comes to the Kansas City Ball Club. We're going to take our first break of the episode and come back and talk about their performance on the road and in New York a little bit right after this. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Roy. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say that was a whole word salad mess. I don't know if I got my point across at all.
It made sense to me at least.
All right.
All right. And we are coming back in here. All right, folks, welcome back to the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. So I know we touched on Sunday's transactions in kind of sporadically, but I do want to run down them real quick, just in one shot, so we are all on the same page here. So who is heading off of the Kansas City Royals roster? Well, that is Mitch Spence going back down to the Omaha Storm Chasers, and infielder Tyler Tolbert going back down to Omaha as well. So the struggling speedster is going to hopefully find his swing and find that base running prowess once again down playing for the Storm Chasers. Yeah, it's been an eye-rolling experience so far, Jeremy.
Your one job is to be a pinch runner. Like, yes, his defensive versatility exists, but it primarily exists that you can pinch run him for more people and then put him in the field, and he's not going to make an absolute idiot out of himself. He's not here to sub in defensively. He's here to run and then potentially play defense as necessary.
Correct.
He's not here to hit. He's here to run. And he's not gotten a lot of opportunities to pinch run because the Royals haven't had a lot of opportunities for a pinch runner to make a difference. And also, at least two of the times he has pinch run, he got picked off. He should have been picked off a second time. That's and the replay saved him, and Torkelson making a bad tag, the not great throw, and then a bad tag saved him. And he doesn't. He needs to be better. He needs to be able to. When Gerard Dyson and Terrence Gore were the pinch running experts, they got on base. Everyone knew they were going to steal. They stole anyway. Heck, Dairon Blanco until last year got on base, or you pinch ran him. You knew he was going to try and steal. He stole anyway. He stole 30 bases as a pinch runner. For goodness' sake, impressive. 24.
Yeah,
he was a demon out there, and Tolbert, when he first came up, he was good at stealing bases, but he's clearly relying on his speed and not his technique, because they're able to figure out how to pick him off really easily. He's been picked off so many times. He's a big part of why people were critical of the base running last year and this year. And the base running has been better this year, but Tolbert hasn't been. So I don't know what the issue is there. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's him. I don't know if it's talent. It's not working. So he no longer had a spot on the roster. Nope. They needed Elias Diaz. I hope he figures it out, because I like having that option. Certainly as the season goes on, if the Royals get better, a pinch runner would be nice to have.
Yep. That it would. Let's see here. So what else happened? So McArthur, like I said, went from the 15-day IL to the 60-day IL, more of that right elbow inflammation. Diaz coming up from the Omaha Storm Chasers. He has not looked stellar for the Storm Chasers, but at the end of the day, he is an 11-year veteran in the league, and I'm sure he can call a game. He had a good career with Pittsburgh. He had his All-Star berth with Colorado, and really struggled in San Diego over the past 2 seasons. And yeah, Diaz and Starling Marte, they were former teammates out there in Pittsburgh, so they know each other well. So that's a good pairing at least. But yep, Mitch Spence, Tolbert going down to Omaha, Black and Diaz coming up from Omaha. So we'll see what Black and Diaz have in there when they make their Royals debut eventually.
Diaz is in the lineup today.
Yeah, he's
if
in the
the game
lineup
gets
today.
played.
Carter and Cags are out. So the 2 guys that you mentioned as like batting bright spots for this team right now are not in the lineup. And I get it. They're facing off against a lefty, but holy smokes, that is just absolutely disappointing in my mind.
Yeah, it makes me not super want to watch the game. Like, the best part of watching the games this week has been checking on Caglianone's exit velocities when he makes contact with the ball. I just love seeing that 110 plus exit velocity, because everyone's like, yeah, he hits the ball hard. But he doesn't just hit the ball hard. That's video game hard. No one hits the ball that hard as often as he does. It's ridiculous. I just have to stress that point again. The reason I'm into Jack Caglianone isn't just that he hits the ball hard, it's that he hits it literally harder than anybody.
Yep, exactly. So, hey,
And
there's
consistently. It's not like 115 once a week. It's 115 every day.
no, man, it's just the launch angle for Jack
Yeah.
so far
No,
this
for
year.
sure.
Like that's been the thing holding back that power. So it has rightfully been frustrating for fans, because we can see like the batting averages is going up, and he looks much better from last year. But the fact of the matter is, this was a guy who we look in the lineup every single day. He has 40 home run potential, still doesn't have a home run as we approach the month mark for the MLB season. Speaking of that, I do want to point this out from the Royals media notes, and I want to give folks some hope, because there's not a lot of it right now. Yeah, not a lot of hope right now, because the
Take
Royals are
whatever hope I can
7-14, and we're
Yeah.
only 21 games in. What'd you say?
I said I could use some hope right now. In response to that 7-14
All right.
record, I'll point out I saw a post on X that the last time they were this bad to start a season was last year. When the best they could, or no, not last year, 2017, when they finished 80 and 82. Is the best they've ever done when they started this poorly. So I have talked repeatedly about early sample sizes, a lot of baseball left to play, but when you start this poorly, those are games you can't get back. And we've talked about, 1/3 of your games are going to win, 1/3 you're going to lose. What do you do with the other third? Well, some of these games are games they had an opportunity to win, that they didn't have to lose, that they lost, and that goes into that middle bucket there.
Yeah, so this is a team on a 6-game losing streak, and before yesterday's absolute just stomping, they had an 8-game streak of games being decided by 2 runs or fewer. Like, they have been in close games, and they have let the leads slip away in some of those games. They're 4-7 so far this season alone in games decided by 2 runs or fewer. And where I'm coming in for hope is, you talk about 2017. Last year, they were in a very similar situation. The Royals started out the season 8-14, and then they were on a 2-8 stretch on the road, and they won the last game of that trip to end a 6-game losing streak. And that is when they started that electric run where they were dominant. They went 16-2 until early May. So do they have that in them again? I don't know. I don't know. It didn't look like they had it in them last year, but they still pulled it off somehow. They pulled everything together, and it happened. The fact of the matter is, as a Royals fan, I am really getting frustrated with the fact that the teams 24 and 25 relied on absolute outlier runs to get them into a competitive spot, right? No team has a 30-win improvement season over season, but that's what the 24 Royals did. And then no team goes 16-2 in 18 games out of nowhere. But the 25 Royals did, and that really buoyed them throughout the early part of the year. So I just wanted too much to ask to be able to go in with a consistent effort every single freaking game, please.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
dang it, man.
I mean, I do take some hope from that stat, because one thing I've said is that I did say they started poorly in April last year. So, yeah, they did. I guess they did start this poorly in April last year. Um, and if it wasn't for that June, that's another outlier like you're talking about. That June was so bad. And if it wasn't for that June, they could have been a playoff team. If they'd played even close to 500 in June, they could have been a playoff team. So there's still hope that, maybe you don't need a 16-2 record if you go 14-4, but then you play 500 in June instead of winning like 3 games or whatever it was, something ridiculous in June last year. Then you could still find a way to be a good team.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, before we move on to other things, I want to highlight Carter Jensen. He's had a somewhat slow start to the year, but some of his power numbers and his run scoring numbers at the end of the day have been very, very strong when you look at from a Royals rookie perspective. He's already got 5 home runs. That's tied for the third most amongst league rookies. The Royals record, for all you keeping count out there, is 24 home runs by Bob Hamlin back in '94 when he won Rookie of the Year. So keep an eye on that pace. Hopefully that's something that we're talking about later on this season. Jeremy, you were talking about those exit velos. Well, Carter Jensen's no slouch either. The broadcast
Right.
yesterday was talking about him putting them up in the third deck there in Yankee Stadium. And 3 of his 5 home runs this season have had an exit velocity of 110 miles per hour or more. So that is very, very good. Lastly, he just quietly leads the team with 12 RBI already, and he's had at least 1 RBI in 8 of his last 13 games. That's a pretty good run from the Kansas City area native, Jeremy. I would say so. Do you have anything else to say about the young backstop?
I would say that his slow start has him at a 122 WRC plus.
Yep.
So how slow is that start? The ISO is really, I mean, the 271 ISO is carrying him through. He's striking out quite a bit and not walking as much as last year. So if the strikeouts come back down and the walks go up a little bit, then even if the power comes back down, he'll be okay. But he had a 250 ISO in September last year. So the 271 ISO now is not like some ridiculous outlier compared to what we've seen from him before. Dude's got power. He's got
That he
a
does.
lot more power than I ever gave him credit for. So we'll see what he does, but I continue to be so happy that I was so very wrong about Carter Jensen being a real big league prospect.
I am right there with you, my friend. So the Royals, that we are currently in a rain delay still, they're hoping to at least squeak out 1 win on this road trip after going 0-3 against the Detroit Tigers and starting out very poorly against the New York Yankees, dropping the first 2. So make sure you go, if you're ever in a position like this. I know we're going to release this probably after the game is over, but go check out the game thread. Keep an eye on what other Royals fans are saying. Get all the information that you need for what the lineup is, how to watch the game, what the pitching matchup is, all that and more you can find in the game threads every single game day. All right, Jeremy. So I want to go ahead and set the stage for the next series coming up. Just looking at the probable pitchers, and I don't have. So hold on, but before we do that, I want folks to understand where I'm at with the series stuff, because so usually when we look at the upcoming series, it's talking about how can the Royals win this, right? How can the Royals match up against this? We aren't at a point of matchups right now. We're not looking to win in the margins for the Royals. We need substantial improvements from the Royals. And for all the people who want to talk about Q, who want to talk about Zumwalt and talk about members of the organization, at the end of the day, they still aren't the guys swinging the stick. All right. They still aren't the guys delivering the ball to home plate. All right. There does need to be an element of execution. And we haven't seen that at a competent level for a while, it feels like, for quite a few innings. So that I'm not worried about the series right now, right? Because the solution is in the dugout. It's in the clubhouse right now, and they need to figure out what that is. So who do the Royals have taking the mound for them? They got Seth Lugo going on Monday. They got Chris Bubich going on Tuesday, and then they have Michael Wacha going on Wednesday to close out things with his bloat. He gave up so many earned runs in his last start. Like I think it was triple the amount of earned runs he had going into his last start, and it inflated his ERA to 1. Jeremy, 1. Can you believe that for Michael Wacha? Jeez Louise. Oh my goodness. But if you want to look at, yeah, no, he'd only given up 1. Um, Woo! Love that. So if you want to see some elevated ERAs, you can go look at it. It is sometimes, man. It really is. That's why we have R and Python do all the work for us. Anywho's, looking at the elevated ERAs from the Baltimore Orioles starters, we have Kyle Bradish going on Monday, Shane Baz going on Tuesday, and then Chris Bassett going on Wednesday against Michael Wacha. All that for an off day on Thursday. So we got a little three game stint, and they get an off day back at home. Maybe that's what this team needs. Well, okay, let me ask it like this then. Gotcha. That it is 420, baby. All right. So as the Royals are looking to close the book on the New York Yankees, what'd you say? Okay. Grateful Dead is like they are big in the stoner community, so it's a nice little correlation. All right, Jeremy. So as the Royals look to close the book on this Yankee series, like what are you feeling? Like, is this where are you at?
They've lost so many games now that I'm kind of in a zen place. Watched a lot of bad baseball as a Royals fan, and at some point the losses stop upsetting you if there are that many of them. So I'm kind of like, yep, if I stop expecting them to win, then it doesn't hurt me when they lose. So I'm honestly in a better mental state right now after losing the 2 Yankees games than I was after any of the Detroit losses. So, when they start winning again, I'll start caring when they lose. But for now, I'm just here to check out those exit velos from Carter and Cags, which is why I'm like, I don't know, do I really want to watch today if Carter and Cags aren't playing?
This is not where we wanted to be at in shortly after mid-April, folks, but that is where we are at.
We'll do a deeper dive into this if the losing continues, but they're in a pretty good shape in a lot of ways for trying for the trade deadline if they are a bad team.
Yeah,
Michael Wacha
that they
can
are.
be traded, Seth Lugo can be traded, Chris Bubich can be traded. You got guys to build around in Michael and Bobby and Carter and Cags, who are still young and under team control for a long time. And they're still, I mean, Bobby's not Bobby yet, but he's shown
Yep.
some enough flashes that I'm not super worried about him. Um, you probably can't trade Sal, but he's only under contract through next year. You might be able to trade Vinny. I hope they don't. I hope he gets his. I mean, if Vinny starts hitting again, then the lineup probably starts to look better, and you can build around it. But a lot of the veterans who aren't performing are also guys who are on expiring contracts. The Royals don't have the one good thing about the smart approach that the Royals have done the last 2 off seasons, where they haven't added a big bat, is that they don't have a lot of obligations either.
Yep.
So they can pivot in a hurry if they need to. Um, so there's some positives, even if they're losing. We could have a really exciting trade deadline of, ooh, look at all the fancy, pretty prospects we got to add. Um,
I hope not.
maybe someone will even give us a Leo DeVries kind of guy. I mean, not
Yeah.
Leo DeVries probably, but someone like that. And I feel like I have faith in the franchise that if they get a highly regarded prospect, that they'll make him good, that he'll show up and play well. Because we've seen Carter showed up and play well. We've seen Jack has played. We've seen Jack improve rapidly since he got up here, I think. And Noah had a really good rookie season. They've had some other guys. I think that we can believe that if they do trade their veterans away, and I think we can also believe that they will trade their veterans. This will not be a situation of, well, we've still got Seth under control for next year. We don't want to trade him. I think if they're that bad come the trade deadline, as they're looking right now, they'll trade him and get what they can get for him and say, we've still got Ryan Berger, we still got Stephen Kolek. We can rebuild some depth with some other free agent signings. It doesn't have to be Seth Lugo.
Yeah.
So there's it's not a disaster. This is not like the 23 Royals, which were awful and didn't have anyone worth trading.
Yeah, the quadruple A Royals as they looked that year. And folks, this is there's a lot going on. Emotions are running high. I think a lot of fans are at the point that Jeremy is right now, because that's the reality of it. We've seen a lot more bad baseball from this team this season. That reminds us of some of those late 2010s teams more so than the 24 or even 25 Royals. So our comments are open on Spotify, on YouTube, wherever you're listening at. You can voice your opinion there. I saw Lux commented on our last episode talking about my review, and then Aaron commented shortly before we got started about wanting us to touch on the mental breather stuff. So I hope that we answer your question adequately there, Aaron. Jeremy, before we get to reviews, we're going to take one more break, and then we got to look at 2 rehabbing Royals just so fans are aware. Stay tuned.
When you work with your hands, you need tools you can count on. The same goes for cleaning. Simple Green All-Purpose Cleaner delivers professional-strength cleaning to tackle grease, grime, and job site messes, so you can focus on getting the work done right. For contractors and painters, to plumbers, installers, and maintenance crews, Simple Green helps pros like us clean smarter without harsh chemicals. You handle the job, we'll clean up the mess. Visit simplegreen.com/professional.
Welcome back to the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. So we got 3 injured Royals to touch on real quick, folks. I'm going to look at 2 rehabbing Royals, and Jeremy's going to talk about one guy who is no longer rehabbing and had a pretty big setback. So Bailey Falter is on a rehab to Omaha right now. Things are not looking too good for him after his first start on April the 15th, or excuse me, first outing, not even a start, first outing. He pitched one inning, came out for the save, allowed 3 hits, 2 earned runs, a walk, and 1 strikeout. Just not a banner day for him coming back, but of course, it was his first game back since April 1st. So injured, a little rusty. We'll see what happens there. Stephen Kolek, on the other hand, looked absolutely sterling in his April 14th outing, going 4 innings, only allowing 3 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, and 2 strikeouts. So I'll absolutely take that from the 29-year-old righty. Jeremy, what do you have on McArthur?
So we mentioned earlier James McArthur got moved to the 60-day IL. I was surprised because I remembered he was starting a rehab program, and we got an update from Annie Rogers today saying that he suffered a setback while in extended spring camp. So he is continuing to throw, but he's taking it slow. So it's gonna be a while before he's available again. I'm starting to get worried we never get to see him again. And I know some fans are probably out there celebrating, but I still believe in the general, okay? And real quick, I don't remember if we've talked about Estevez. They've got an update on him that
no, what you got?
He was battling an illness during his attempted rehab. It slowed him down, but he did throw a 15-pitch bullpen on April 16th. So we'll see. He's not actually started, pitching in games again, so we don't have velocities. Did you mention that Kolek is having his rehab start today? As we're recording this? Okay, I didn't. I was reading other things, not paying attention.
Nah, so bro, you're good.
That's my bad.
No, you're fine, man. So yeah, we'll keep tabs there on the Royals for you, or if there's any major updates, we'll have it up on royalsreview.com as well. All right, Jeremy, let's go ahead and get to some reviews, man. And unfortunately, since we're already kind of on the bummer train, I'm just going to keep us rolling on that right now and talk about the MLB apps on streaming devices. And my experience is with 4 different devices. Okay. It's my smart TV, Roku stick, Fire TV, and the PlayStation 5 app. All of them, same issues. I have to reload the entire game once they try to come back from commercial break. The audio will just stutter at points and never sync up again. And the issues are so consistent that it's unwatchable on those entirely. I thankfully have a Chromecast, so I can come over here to my computer, cast it from MLB.TV, and it works just
Goodness.
fine. No problem. But I shouldn't have to do that.
No.
I shouldn't have to do that. And this is, unfortunately, the mobile app has plenty of issues on its own too. I will have so many issues with the audio streams trying to listen to the broadcast. I don't watch many games on my phone, but I don't know. I'm not the only one who's having issues with this app, and it's so frustrating when the big product is trying to steer us to MLB TV, and they obviously don't have the infrastructure to support it. And they need a freaking, well, they need something. They need to change something, Jeremy.
I don't think it's an infrastructure issue, because I have been watching MLB.TV since its inception. I had already moved away from Kansas City when MLB TV was invented. And it used to be an extremely good product, but that term that I love, shitification,
Vacation.
has come for the MLB.TV apps, and it used to be that you could switch to the radio feed and they would sync up that radio audio with the TV. They don't do that anymore. It's a crapshoot whether it's going to happen automatically or not. And if it doesn't, well, you're just going to be out of sync. And it sucks. You had it. Why don't you have it now? Well, because you didn't bother to update things. It Yeah, it's a big problem. It's absolutely something they need to fix. Maybe as more teams are moving to the MLB.TV infrastructure, they will, but I doubt it. We were talking before the podcast about how the sports websites are all busted to heck. I go to the Royals website, I have a really hard time finding. You said, oh, by the way, Andy Rogers wrote this article about the Salvi situation. And I'm like, okay, let me go to the website. It took me like 2 minutes to find the article because the website's so busted as far as like, they've got all these AI highlights that are playing instead of letting me see things. And of course, we're all familiar at this point with trying to find a 15-second highlight from a game, and you have to watch a 30-second ad before you can watch the highlight every time. So yeah, it's the infrastructure is there, but the design philosophy is not, I would say. But there might be some infrastructure stuff too. They might be pivoting too much to AI and firing too many intelligent programmers.
Yep, they certainly wouldn't be the only ones.
I told you I didn't have a review beforehand, and now I have to think of one because I didn't think of one. In the meantime, you know what? Here's my review. I reviewed a couple weeks ago. I was talking about Poppy prebiotic soda, and I was like, man, this doesn't taste great, but it does help me feel better. I found over the last couple weeks, Pepsi makes a prebiotic soda now, so I can get a prebiotic cola, and cola is by far my favorite type of soda. And it is it's sweetened with stevia instead of aspartame. I know aspartame gives some people issues. My mom gets migraines when she drinks aspartame. So it's a 30-calorie prebiotic soda, and it doesn't have aspartame in it. It tastes pretty good. I'm pretty excited about it. And they even have a cherry vanilla prebiotic Pepsi. So you even got a little cherry cola action going on, which is also a good flavor. So I've been pretty happy with that. I have been primarily a Coke drinker the past decade or so, but I'm one of those weirdos who give me a cola. I don't care. Pepsi, Coke, whatever. I also drink the store brand cola because it's cheaper. I don't even care. So yeah, I'm happy to be able to have a prebiotic cola.
Oh yeah. Alrighty, folks. Well, Royals are still in delay. So maybe we'll watch a game today. Maybe we won't. We will find out here in short order, I'm sure. Thank you all for joining us today on today's episode. We appreciate y'all's support as always. Make your voice heard. You got plenty of ways to do it. wellsreview.com. You can reach out to us on social media. Genuinely, we're here to have conversation and discourse with y'all. And when that happens, that's one of the best parts of having this podcast, I will say. So please, please, please make your voice heard, whatever the avenue is. I am Jacob Milham. There, Jeremy Greco. Thank you so much for joining us today. And until next time, go Royals.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.